Hello, I'm Hazirah, and I'm in my fourth year in Monash now, studying international business management. And so far, I've worked with many different people from all across the globe, and I also communicate daily with Japanese people due to my personal relationships. And I've also had some hands-on experience dealing with Italians through an exchange program I've went through before. So today, the purpose of this presentation is to look at how global mindset works by comparing Japanese and Italian culture through Hofstede's theory of cultural dimensions. So what is actually Hofstede's theory of cultural dimensions? It's basically a framework for understanding cultural differences across nations, and it's used to analyze how cultural values impact interactions in various contexts, including management and business. So Hofstede's theory on cultural dimensions have six dimensions. However, for the sake of this presentation, I'm only going to talk about individualism versus collectivism and masculinity versus femininity. Let's take a look at how these cultures act. An individualistic culture is one that emphasizes self expression and individual rights, so their success is measured by personal achievement. Meanwhile, a collectivist culture is one that emphasizes group harmony and shared responsibility, and as you can tell, their success is measured by group well being. A masculine culture is one that emphasizes achievement, wealth, and competition, so they value materialistic rewards and ambition. The gender roles are also quite strict. In a more feminine culture, it emphasizes relationships and quality of life. Therefore, the gender roles are much more fluid. Based on Hofstede's dimensional scores that we can see in this graph here, we can see that Italy is an individualistic society, meanwhile, Japanese people are collectivists. Italian culture also demonstrates moderate masculinity levels, meanwhile, Japan shows high levels of masculinity. Let's start off with a comparative analysis on individualism. So, Hofstede suggested that Italy is an individualist culture, therefore, they should prioritize personal autonomy and self expression. Meanwhile, Japan, as a collectivist culture, is one that prioritizes group well being over personal goals. But during my research, I found that there is a change in how researchers interpret cultural values. So for Italy, there was basically no change due to the fact that its deep Catholic roots and language are less sensitive towards economic changes as suggested by Tang and Covius. Therefore, cultural shift wasn't prominent, but Japan, on the other hand, saw an increase in individualism levels. As you can see, the updated score is 82. And Elliot et al. Noted that this could be due to recent change in young Japanese people's behavior, where they undergo self reinvention or so called identity jumping to fit modern societal standards. And they also noted an increased one for flexible work culture as a contributing factor. Sun et al. Also added that Japanese consumers are more brand conscious and impulsive buyers compared to Western countries. So this reflects a heightened want for self reward, therefore suggesting individualistic traits. Moving on to masculinity, Hofstede suggested that Italy is a moderately masculine culture. Therefore, they should be relatively competitive and they prioritize achievements, but a bit more expressive than their counterpart, who is Japan, which is very competitive, emphasizes on achievements, and is emotionally subdued. Interestingly, though, both countries see a drop in the masculinity scores in modern times. So, Tang and Covius argued that this is because when a nation becomes wealthier, they pursue post materialistic rewards such as increased emotional well being and also a work life balance. Tehrani also suggested that in Japan, as more local companies are added into the DJSI, which is the Dow Jones Sustainability Indices, the more their stock in prices increase. So this could mean that there's a more openness to sustainability efforts and emotional value among Japanese investors. The managerial implication of Hofstede's theory can be categorized into three components: work life balance, leadership style, and also gender roles. We can see that Japan still has a relatively poor work life balance, but it's shifting to a more emotional well being culture and they want more work flexibility. In Italy, we can see that personal and family time is very much appreciated. The leadership style in Japan is very hierarchical, is growth oriented, but younger workers expect more emotional recognition and autonomy. In Italy, the leadership style is still as expressive and informal, and they nudge their workers towards personal achievements. For gender roles, Japan is still highly masculine, but it's shifting to more flexible roles due to emotional nurturing. In Italy, it's still moderately masculine, however, goals are balanced with emotional expressiveness. So here's two organizational examples that use hostage theory to adapt to their working environment. In Japan, there's Toyota who promises to create an environment with work-life balance. So they're trying to reduce overtime and holiday work as well as implementing zero-hour work system for the employees. They also want to increase the number of women in managerial positions by the year 2030. And they're doing this by getting them to go to professional development events like global women's conferences. And in Ferrari in Italy, they upheld the equal salary certification since 2020. It means that basically they give equal pay regardless of gender for their workers. They also have the Beneficiary Formula or the Welfare Formula, where it's basically a medical examination program regarding sports and lifestyle for all personnel and also for their children. So, what we can see from these two organizations is that they are both adapting to the cultural shifts whereby they're being more individualistic, meanwhile being less masculine. Here's the part where I reflect on why a global mindset is important. So, I believe managers must understand and adapt to various cultural nuances and optimize and establish a cohesive communication style for the team because it's very important in the workplace to build trust with organizations and individuals across the globe and to overcome cultural conflict. Another thing is to become a good global citizen, which means that I have good ethical behavior and social responsibility. Now, I believe to get a global mindset in university, I should continue to explore more cross cultural theories such as entrepreneurs study and also collaborate with more international students, meanwhile, joining student groups and activities with diverse cultural backgrounds. In the workplace, I should try to pursue a career in international companies and try to attend international events and conferences. I should also strive to become a culturally sensitive leader who can bridge local and foreign norms into my workplace. So that's all for my presentation, and here are my references. Here is my AI acknowledgement. And thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day.